I'm Sean O'Malley, 29 years old, and if you asked me 5 years ago where I'd be tonight, I wouldn't have said stuck in a rain-soaked Toyota Corolla on some godforsaken back road in County Mayo, wondering if my clutch would finally give out and leave me stranded for good. I've been working as a mechanic since I was a teenager, learning the trade from my da, fixing tractors and cars all around town. But these days, it feels like the world's closing in on me. The farm work dried up, and with Brexit and inflation, the few jobs that pop up don't pay enough to cover my debts. Rent's overdue, the bank's breathing down my neck for my loan, and the electric company just sent me a cut-off notice. I've had to borrow from loan sharks just to keep food on the table. I promised myself tonight's job, fixing old Tom's tractor, would help, but the clutch in this Corolla has been slipping for months, and I can feel it failing with every mile. The rain's relentless, pounding the windshield like it's trying to wash away everything. No phone signal, no hope. Rounding the bend near Cross Molina, I slam on the brakes. There it is, a thick oak log blocking the road, freshly cut like someone left it there for me. No forestry work nearby, no reason for it to be there. It's like a message. I step out, boots sinking into something warm and sticky near the ditch. I try to tell myself it's mud, but the smell, faint but unmistakable, reminds me of the stories old folks used to tell about the puka, a creature said to roam the countryside, leaving mischief and worse in its wake. The puka's known for blocking travelers' paths, driving them mad or leading them to disappear into the night. I drag the log aside, heart hammering, and get back in the car. The radio crackles suddenly on a dead channel, and I hear the faintest sound, a child's laughter, then silence. I can't tell if it's my mind playing tricks or something darker waking up. The Passat tailing me without plates feels like something out of a nightmare. My mind flickers back to local news I'd ignored, a rash of disappearances in this area, strange sightings on back roads, old wives' tales about the vanishing triangle between Cross Molina, Ballina, and Eris come rushing back. People say those woods swallow up wanderers and spit out shadows. The car mirrors every move I make. I know I should pull over, but where? Every turn feels like I'm driving deeper into a trap. I grip the wheel, clutch grinding as I downshift. I'm running low on cash and hope. If this Passat catches me, I don't know what's worse, the threat outside or the debts waiting for me back home. The man who approaches wears a soaked Garda jacket, but no badge. His presence chills me more than the rain. I want to trust him, but something about the way he moves, the desperation in his voice. Did you not see him when you moved the log? Makes me wonder if he's warning me or warning himself. I remember tales from the local pubs about Amao, the Watchers, men who roam the roads after dark, claiming to protect those who get lost, but often leading them to worse fates. Was he one of them, or something else? His phone shows an emergency call 12 minutes earlier, but no one else seems to have come. The boy in my trunk has been silent since they took him away. The man disappears into the mist before I can ask his name, like he was never there. The boy, thin, pale, wrists bound, was trapped in my trunk the whole time. How? My car was locked, and I never opened it after leaving the farm. The officers find no pry marks. This isn't just bad luck. This is something else. Something that sees me as an easy mark. Days later, I learned the sticky patch on the road where I stepped wasn't just mud or animal blood. It was blood from some creature. Of the woods, they say. Some locals believe the fairy paths, ancient invisible trails, are crossing right there, and disturbing them invites curses or worse. I'm no superstitious man, but after all this, I'm not so sure. Debt is a slow poison. It wears you down until your senses dull, your hope fades, and you start missing the signs of danger. The Passat haunts my every drive now. I glue the trunk shut, but even then I hear scratching at night like the woods never let go. I'm a mechanic, a man of facts. But this feels like the land itself is warning me to stop, to pay attention, or be swallowed whole. The moral? Sometimes the weight you carry isn't just money or mistakes, but the shadows behind you, the things you ignore until they're sitting in your trunk. And maybe, just maybe, the old stories were right. The Irish backroads hold more than memories. They hold secrets, and if you're not careful, they'll take you too. That's me, Marcus Boone, 42, driving a busted-down Freightliner on a frozen stretch of Highway 401, with my life unraveling faster than the miles on my rig. I'm hauling a last-minute load of pharmaceuticals, which should mean easy money, but the heater's been dead since Thanksgiving. My knees ache from an old injury, and my ex just texted, "Visitation's on the line unless I cough up back payments." I'm $28,000 behind on my truck lease. How'd it come to this? The lonely hours behind the wheel, nights colder than my bank account, and the constant dread of losing what little I have left. My daughter. This highway from Toronto to Montreal is no place for a man on the edge. Snow swallows the guardrails, and the only light comes from distant refinery fires flickering in the black. At 1:13 a.m., I pull into the Big Bear truck stop at Port Hope. My knee screams as I stumble inside for coffee. The cashier doesn't meet my eyes when she warns about lot lizards being aggressive tonight. Outside, I catch a man leaning on the diesel pumps, a ghost in the freezing dark. He's in his 50s, military-cut gray hair, no jacket despite the 15-degree Aussie bite. His stare drills into my rig like he's memorizing my dot number. When our eyes meet, he smiles, revealing sharp canine teeth filed to points. Before I can react, my CB crackles to life with a distorted voice. "Boone, run." Static, then silence. The cold night just got colder. Back on the highway, I try to shake off the chill, but the feeling sticks like ice in my veins. I notice a black 90s Caprice tailing me in my blind spot. No headlights, just black glass reflecting the road. When I switch lanes, it mirrors me exactly, like a shadow copying every move. My GPS glitches, spitting out an impossible location. 100 kilometers west, near an abandoned asylum I've heard rumors about but never seen. I slam the accelerator to 110 km/h, heart thudding. The Caprice keeps pace effortlessly, silent and relentless. Near Belleville, it disappears like it never existed. I scan the empty road behind me, just snow and the echo of my own breathing. I'm no stranger to the loneliness of the road, but this feels different, like something's watching, waiting. By 3:47 a.m., I'm at the near-empty en route rest stop, outside Kingston. The flickering sodium light casts long shadows. I park the rig and lean back, trying to catch some shut-eye. That's when I hear it. Tap, tap, tap. The driver's side window is frosted over except for one clear handprint. I freeze. Through the glass, a gray-haired eye presses against the opening. No breath fogging the window. Just cold, empty darkness. My hand tightens around the tire iron. The door handle jiggles violently. The CB erupts with screams, a woman begging in French followed by a gunshot. Then headlights flood the cab. The Caprice is parked 10 feet away, passenger window down. A voice rasps, "He's not real, drive now." I don't need a second warning. I slam the door, start the rig, and tear out of there, heart pounding like a freight train. Kingston police don't find much. No footprints in the fresh snow around my rig, no record of the Caprice registered since 2003, and mysterious blood, smears on my door handle that weren't there before. Back on the road, the sun barely rises as I get a call from dispatch. "Boone, we never sent you to Montreal. Your manifest says Hamilton." I check my paperwork. The destination has been altered in shaky handwriting. Below it, scrawled in something that looks like dried blood, "Papa misses you." Panic creeps in. Is someone messing with me? Or is this the beginning of losing everything? My grip on reality loosens. The cold isn't just outside anymore. It's inside me. Now, I'm glued to the cab, supergluing locks shut before I sleep, peeing in bottles so I don't have to stop after dark. My logbook entries keep changing. On their own, routes I don't remember taking, stops I never made. The final blow? My daughter's school picture, she drew me with a friend, a man with shiny, sharp teeth watching me from the shadows. Sometimes when the cab gets cold, I swear I smell Old Spice and frostbite. And I wonder, how far does this shadow reach? Is it just a nightmare born from desperation and debt? Or something darker. I don't know if I'm running from a man or from myself. But one thing's clear. On these frozen highways, some ghosts don't want you to drive away. I'm Liam Brady, 16 years old, stuck in a house where the walls are stained with whiskey breath and slammed doors. My dad's been drinking since before I can remember, and Mam's long gone, leaving me to count the nights I can't wait to get out. My beat-up 007 Peugeot is my escape, even if the boot's held shut with bungee cords because the latch is busted again. I was saving for a motorcycle, a real one, something loud and fast, something to get me away from all this. Work nights at Devlin's Pizzeria, a grim little hole in Belfast where they don't ask questions about your age as long as you show up. Boss man Jerry's rough around the edges, and he doesn't care if you're a kid so long as you're quick. The neon sign flickers like it's about to give up, and the tablet we use for orders is as ancient as the place. Tonight started slow, the rain pelting the windows like it was trying to drown us out. Then at 11:17 p.m., the tablet pinged with an online order for 2 special deal pizzas to 24 Dunvale Heights. A half-built housing estate nowhere near anything on Google Maps, just empty fields and unfinished houses. Jerry looked at me like I was daft. Fucking prank call, but if you don't go, you're fired. The payment had gone through and the receipt even said extra sauce, with a weird smiley face. No one else wanted to take it. So I had no choice. Driving through, Belfast at night feels like slipping through cracks in the city. My Mam's Peugeot barely keeps up and I clutch the wheel tighter than usual. As I pull out of the pizzeria, my headlights catch a black Vauxhall Astra idling across the street. No plates, no lights on, just waiting. I shake it off. Maybe it's some other poor bastard stuck in this weather. But when I turn onto the West Link, the Astra pulls out behind me, perfectly matching my every move. No headlights, just darkness following me like a bad omen. My phone dies halfway through the drive. Then the radio crackles, spits static, and I hear a distorted voice. Turn back, delivery boy. My stomach knots. I keep driving, heart hammering as the rain turns the road slick. I try every detour I know, home, a friend's place, but the Astra is always there, shadows slipping in and out of my vision. I don't know who they are or why they want me, but I feel their eyes on me like a noose tightening. The city's grime and rain blur around me, and I'm trapped in the headlights of something I can't see but can't escape. Dunvale Heights is a ghost town, unfinished row houses standing like skeletons in the rain. The plastic sheeting flaps like torn flags, and every window is a dark hole. I pull up to number 24. The porch light flickers weakly. I ring the bell and a woman in a soaked nightdress answers, her eyes wide and tired. Pizzas. Love, we've no power. How'd you even cook them? Behind me, tires crunch gravel. The Astra slides across the street, blocking my path. 4. Men step out, faces hidden behind balaclavas, work boots squelching in the mud. One swings a lump hammer casually. Special delivery for Liam, yeah? The tallest says, voice muffled but mocking. My heart jumps into my throat. I want to say, no, to run, but my body freezes. They move closer. We just want to talk, wee man. Their voices cut through the rain like knives. I don't know what I'm supposed to have done, what I've seen. But I know this isn't just a prank or a bad joke. It's something darker. I slam the Peugeot into reverse, smashing into the Astra's grill, plastic shattering, rain spraying everywhere. I gun the engine, swerving toward the exit. Crack. A hammer smashes the rear window. A hand grabs my collar. I wrench the wheel, hitting a scaffolding pole. The airbag explodes in my face. Knocking me dizzy, I don't wait. I throw the car into park and sprint into the skeletal houses, rain plastering my shirt to my skin. They spread out behind me, shouting threats I barely understand, accusing me of seeing things at the docks. I've never been near the docks. Cold, fear runs through me as I duck behind a half-built wall, breath ragged. I don't know what they want, but they want it bad. Somewhere inside me, a voice screams to keep running, to never look back. The cops show up too late. No Astra, just tire marks ending at a cliff edge. My car is gone, later found burned out in Larne. Devlin's has no record of the order. It never existed. Jerry hands me a crumpled note left at the shop a week later. You owe us 2 pizzas, X. Written in something sticky, brown, smelling like iron and oregano. I throw it in the trash, but the dread stays. I sleep with a fire extinguisher by my bed now. I see black Astras in every car park. My dad drinks harder, muttering about them loyalist cunts, blaming shadows I can't name. I don't know who they are or why I was targeted. But the lesson's clear. Desperation makes you a target. And some debts aren't about money. They're about fear, control, and the price you pay when you say yes to a delivery that should never have been. Sometimes, at closing time, I swear I hear the tablet ping from the empty back room. My name's Lars Johansson, 38 years old, a mechanic by trade, and a ghost in my own life since my wife took our daughter 6 months ago. My apartment's half empty, the silence louder than the storms outside Tromsø. Tonight the cold is brutal, 20 to see with snow falling so heavy it's like the world's trying to disappear under white. The northern lights flicker above, but I don't even glance up. My hands are gritty with machine grease, and the thermos of coffee between my legs is lukewarm. The roads are empty except for me in the wilderness. No one hitchhikes in this weather. No one should be walking alone out here. But then, near Skogmo Chapel at a lonely crossroads, I see her. A woman waving her arms, no coat, just a thin sweater dusted with snow. Something about her doesn't fit. My head tells me to keep driving, but my heart hesitates. Please, she says, voice cracking with cold. My car died back there. No signal. Just to the next farm. Her Norwegian is perfect, but the way she says farm sets off an instinct I can't shake. Against every warning, I unlock the door. Because sometimes when you're alone out here, a man has no choice but to listen. She climbs in barefoot, the cold biting into her skin, and the smell hits me first. Wet wool and gasoline, a strange mix that shouldn't be. I glance over, her eyes sharp, but her smile doesn't reach them. We drive in silence for a bit. The snow muffles everything but the crunch of tires on the road. Then she breaks it. Turn left here, she says, pointing to a logging road I know well. It ends at a rundown slaughterhouse, a place no one wants to go after dark. That's not a farm, I say, voice tight. It is now, she answers, her tone like a dare. I grip the wheel harder, the feeling of unease creeping in. The road narrows, trees pressing in like sentinels. Why would she want to go there? My brain screams to stop, but my body betrays me. Maybe I'm just too tired to care. Or maybe I want to believe there's something human inside this strange woman. But as the trees thicken, I realize I'm driving into something much darker than a cold night. I stop the car. I tell her no. She just sighs and opens the door. Barefoot in the snow, she steps out, and the cold seems to chase her like a shadow. You should have kept driving, Rigman, she says quietly. That's when I see them. Figures shifting between the pine trees, blurred at the edges like they're not fully here. One steps forward, a man in an old Statoil uniform, face blackened with frostbite. I recognize the Rig logo on his chest, and pinned to his jacket, my old employee ID fear slams into me like a physical blow. I slam the gas pedal to the floor and the car skids on the ice and snow. The trees flash past in a blur. The voices whisper behind me, but I don't look back. I don't stop until the lights of Tromsø peek through the dark. Back in town, I tell the police everything. The woman, the figures in the trees, the logging road that leads nowhere. They check records. No report of a stranded car, no missing woman named Era. But they tell me about the 3 rig workers who vanished last winter near that same crossroads. I try to shake it off, but it clings. Every time I drive that route, I take the long way round now. Every flicker of the aurora reminds me of those shadows, those frozen faces, and the passenger I never should have picked up. The cold doesn't just live outside, it lives inside me now. A frostbite on the soul that no heat can thaw. I learned something out there in the dark. When you're exhausted, lonely, desperate for a break from the noise in your head, you make choices you never would sober and rested. You trust strangers because you want to believe in kindness and safety, but sometimes the kindness is a mask and the safety is an illusion. The passenger seat still smells like gasoline on some nights, like a reminder that the past doesn't just stay behind you. It rides shotgun, waiting for the moment you let your guard down. The cold doesn't bother them anymore, but it sure as hell still bothers me. You ever ask yourself how close you've come to dying without even realizing it? I mean, really think about it. How many times did you turn left instead of right, or leave 5 minutes earlier, and that saved your skin? That night, I wasn't thinking about death. I was thinking about how bad my head was pounding, how low the petrol gauge was dipping, and how I still hadn't paid the fine for the last NCT failure. It was just past 2 in the morning. November in Cary. Rain hitting the windshield and angry sheets in the heater huffing warmish air that smelled like burnt plastic. I just left Declan's flat, still half pissed and regretting every part of the night. The pub was quiet. No shock there. Barely enough business to pay staff, let alone fix the kitchen fridge that whined like a dying cat. My Opel Corsa coughed as I took the back roads out of habit. Not 'cause it was faster. Nothing's faster on Irish back roads. I took them because I couldn't afford to be pulled by the Garda. Last thing I needed was a ticket for expired tax and inspection. And maybe I didn't want anyone to see me. A lot of people in town I owed money to. The road, out past Inch, was quiet, save for the wipers squealing across the windshield and the cans rattling in the footwell. That's when I saw it. The first red flag. A suitcase. Fake Louis Vuitton, busted open in the middle of the road like someone had been running and didn't have time to pick it up. Clothes everywhere. Shoes. Even a sock hanging from a fence, post like some sick little flag. I should have stopped. I didn't. I swerved around the suitcase, gravel skittering beneath my balding tires, heart hammering for reasons I couldn't name. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was just the rain making everything feel worse than it was. But then, 500 meters ahead, the second red flag showed up, bigger this time. A white transit van parked crookedly on the shoulder, engine still running. Back doors flung open like something had fallen out or been pulled out hard. No hazard lights. No one in the cab. I slowed down, I didn't stop, and I should have kept going. But he stepped out from the hedgerow like he'd been waiting for me. Tall guy, mid-40s. Rain flattening his hair, tracksuit sticking to his skin like a second layer of flesh. One hand waving like mad, the other stuffed in his jacket pocket. Jesus. Fucking Christ, mate, he yelled over the sound of the rain. My van's out of diesel. Can you run us back to Killorglin? Accent was wrong. Started out Dublin, then twisted into something else. Couldn't place it. Maybe Slavic? Maybe faking it? Yeah, cracked the window an inch. Rain spat through like a curse. Where's your jerry can? I asked. He looked toward the field just for a second, but it was enough. That's when I saw the silver BMW. Parked half hidden in the barley, driver's door swinging in the wind. No lights, no movement. His head snapped back. Fuck the can. Just open the... I hit the locks. He lunged, ramming his shoulder against the door. In his hidden hand, something flashed, a box cutter maybe. Or worse, I didn't think. I threw it into reverse and hit the pedal so hard my knee popped. The Corsa screamed like it hadn't gone above 40 in years. Mud sprayed up as I tore backward down the lane, half blind in the rain, windshield wipers doing sod all. The man was running after me for a few seconds, but he gave up quick. Limping maybe, or just realizing I wasn't slowing down. I don't know how I didn't hit a tree. The back road twisted like a drunk story, and I couldn't see more than 10 feet. But somehow I made it back to the turnoff by the petrol station just outside Tralee. The place was closed, of course, but the CCTV cameras were still up. I pulled in anyway, breathing like I'd run a marathon, hands trembling on the wheel. When I finally calmed down enough to use my phone, I had 2% battery, no charger in the car. Figures. I called Declan, but it cut out after one ring. So I did the thing I'd been avoiding for months. I drove straight to the Garda station. Inside, the desk sergeant gave me the kind of look you give a drunk guy who smells like onions and Red Bull. I told him everything. The fake suitcase, the van, the guy with the knife or syringe or whatever the hell that was. He didn't laugh, didn't doubt. He just turned to another officer, Murphy, and asked, "You get a look at that BMW case?" Murphy nodded, jaw tight. That'd be Alan Healy's motor. He's been missing since Tuesday. Worked nights over at the meat plant. 3 days later, they found Alan inside the fake suitcase. No hands, no tongue. They didn't tell me much more than that. Said they'd follow up if they needed anything else, but I kept an eye on the papers, on Facebook forums, on anything that might explain what the hell I saw that night. Alan wasn't just a missing person anymore. He was a story now. Tragedy, in Tralee. Family photo on the news. Tearful sister, all that. But nobody mentioned the van, or the man with the fake accent, or what was found in the field with the BMW. Maybe they didn't want to know. I started taking the long way home, from work. 45 minutes extra through Ballybunion and over the coastal road. I told myself it was just a better view, but really I just couldn't face that stretch of the R561 again. And then came the weird stuff. One morning I climbed into the Corsa and noticed the odometer had jumped. 17 kilometers. No one had borrowed it. No one had keys. I told myself I'd misread it, but I knew I hadn't. Another time, after a late shift, I found the passenger side door unlocked. Glove box open, nothing missing. Just messed with. I bought a meat cleaver from the kitchen and slid it under the driver's seat. Made me feel better. For a while. But then Declan texted. No greeting. Just a link to a local crime bulletin. The white transit van had turned up. Abandoned in the alley behind our pub. Inside, blood-soaked chef uniforms. 3 of them. One with my name stitched across the chest. The one I lost last month. I still work at the pub. Not like I've got many options. Place limps along with tourist money and cheap burgers. Declan's not around much anymore. Said he's staying with a girl in Galway, but I think he just wants out. Can't blame him. Every night I close up. I lock the kitchen, sweep the floor, turn off the fryer. I double-check the alley where the van was found, even though it's long gone now. I leave the lights on out back. Sometimes I hear footsteps in the gravel, but there's never anyone there. I sleep with the cleaver beside my bed. Haven't touched a drop since that night. Can't afford to lose time anymore, and still, something lingers. Sometimes when I get in the Corsa, the rear view is tilted just slightly wrong, like someone else was sitting there. Sometimes I'll catch a smell, cheap cologne and diesel, and it'll make my stomach turn over. But the worst is the sound. It doesn't happen every night. But once or twice a week, just after closing time, I hear something in the car park behind the pub. Not voices, not footsteps. Scraping, like suitcase. Wheels dragging across gravel. I look out the window. Nothing there, no lights, no movement. Just the rain, tapping on the bins like fingers. But I know what I heard. I know what I saw. And every time I hear that sound, I wonder what would have happened if I'd opened the door that night. If I'd let him in. If he'd made me drive. Think about Alan, the missing hands, the missing tongue, and I wonder what would have been missing from me. I'm Jenna Ruiz, 22, from the Bronx. Debbie Kowalski, my best friend, was 20 and from Chicago, and Leah Simmons was our new roommate, fresh out of Alabama, only 19. We weren't the combat types, just clerks, stuck behind desks while history moved around us. The base felt like a cage. We dreamed of escape, a weekend break from the dull grind. That October, we borrowed an Opel Kadett to chase a rumor about an American-style diner near Echternach, Luxembourg. Debbie was behind the wheel, me nursing, a warm Lowenbräu in the back seat, Leah holding a torn Michelin map like it was a treasure. The sun was slipping away at 5:47 p.m., and the tension was already thick. Our problem started early. The headlights flickered, the gas gauge was broken, and Leah's ex-boyfriend from base had been calling non-stop. a reminder that normal life didn't just pause because we wanted it to. We crossed into Luxembourg, the countryside rolling by in shades of gray and shadow. I couldn't shake the feeling something was off, but what choice did we have? We just wanted to taste freedom, even if only for a night. It was 8:15 p.m. near Konsdorf when the flashing blue lights appeared behind us. At first, relief. A real cop maybe to help with the flickering headlights or the broken gauge. But when the cruiser pulled alongside, the officer was tall and blonde, with a face too sharp and eyes too cold. No name badge, just clipped English. "Fraulein should not be here after dark. Follow me." His voice was calm but carried an edge I couldn't place. Debbie hesitated but followed the cruiser's lead, the Opel Kadett bouncing on the rough gravel of a Forest Service road. The streetlights disappeared, radio died, and for miles only the sound of our tires hitting potholes. Then suddenly 3 other cars appeared behind us, Belgian plates shining faintly in the dark. The officer stopped outside a derelict farmhouse. Our headlights barely lit the peeling paint and broken windows. From the shadows, 6 men stepped out, dressed in military surplus gear. One cradled an AK-74U. I'd seen those in our arms training. This wasn't police. My stomach dropped. This was a trap. We were caught in something far beyond a simple traffic stop. The blonde officer grabbed Leah's arm through the open window, eyes blazing. "U.S. Army, yeah? You spy for Stasi?" His words cut through the cold air like a knife. I realized with horror these weren't cops. These men were Rhineland separatists, known for arms smuggling and who hated foreign troops on their soil. I tried to think fast. Debbie whispered, "Ruiz, your dad's a mechanic. Can you hotwire us out if I push the gas?" I nodded, heart pounding. As the blonde tightened his grip on Leah, I slammed the door into his ribs. Debbie shifted into reverse, tires screaming on the gravel. A bullet ricocheted off the bumper. The other men cursed and scrambled after us, but we didn't wait for a chase. We tore back onto the highway, adrenaline flooding every nerve. When the Bundespolizei finally stopped us near Wasserbillig, they were polite, but distant. Denied any patrol cars matching the description. Found muddy boot prints on our roof and exchanged looks when Leah showed her army ID. "Fraulein Ruiz. Some roads are better left unvisited," one officer warned quietly. Back at Hahn, everything turned sour fast. Our CO accused us of drinking on duty. We weren't, but no one cared. Leah was transferred to Alaska 2 weeks later, probably to keep her away from questions. I kept quiet, but the paranoia settled in. The day after the trip, I found a sniper cartridge in my duffel bag. No one knew how it got there. We never spoke about that night again, but it lingered. The way the officer knew too much. The silent, armed men waiting in the shadows. The cold certainty that we barely escaped something deadly. Years later, I started digging. I Googled 1992 Luxembourg disappearance. A file came up, an Interpol case from '93. Their Opel Kadett was found abandoned near the farmhouse, bloodstains on the seats, but we had returned the car intact. How could that be? Was someone else driving? Or had we been in the wrong place at the wrong time and survived only by luck? 30 years later, the memory still haunts me. Debbie swears she saw that blonde cop working the PX at Ramstein in '99. I don't know if that's true or just wishful thinking. What I do know is some places carry their secrets like scars, quiet, unseen, but always there. We were just 3 girls caught in a shadow war nobody talked about anymore. A war fought on back roads where borders blurred and danger hid behind smiles. Sometimes I wonder if we ever really escaped, or if that night marked us forever. The kind of terror that doesn't make headlines but never leaves your skin. Sometimes I still hear the gravel crunch under boots in my dreams. Some roads aren't meant to be traveled, and some wrong turns don't end. They say Highway 16 eats people. I used to laugh at that. Thought it was just stories to scare rookies. But I wasn't laughing on that cold November afternoon when I pulled out of Prince George with a trailer full of industrial printers and a gas tank I could barely afford to fill. You ever ask yourself what you're really running from? For me, it wasn't the snow or the broken CB or even the failing headlight. It was the voicemail from my ex-wife screaming about child support again. It was the collection notice taped to my fridge. It was the silence in my apartment that echoed louder than any highway noise. I was late getting on the road. Forklift busted, dispatch angry, brake light out. Nothing serious, but the kind of thing that gives you a sinking feeling before you've even turned the key. By the time I got rolling, it was damn near 5. And in northern BC, 5 in November might as well be midnight. The Keom. Snow started halfway to Burns Lake. Just flurries, but enough to get your nerves up. That stretch west of Vanderhoof is empty. Just spruce trees and flat white sky pressing down on you like a weight. The kind of place where you realize no one's coming if something goes wrong. At the Burns Lake rest area, I stopped to check the tires and grab a piss. That's when I saw him, leaning against a rusted white Ford F-150, engine idling like it had nowhere to be. Saskatchewan Rough Rider's jacket, lips twitching like he was talking to himself. He nodded when I looked his way. Nice rig, 2019. Freightliner? Yeah. Electrical issues, those things are picky. He looked right at my headlights, flickering just barely, and then lifted his phone like he was texting. I caught the flash. He'd taken a picture of my plate. I left Burns Lake in a hurry. The kind of hurry where you don't want to admit you're spooked, but you keep checking your mirrors every 10 seconds anyway. The road west was dark, coiling like a black snake under a dead sky. I cranked the heat and turned on some old rock to fill the cab with anything but silence. That man, he wasn't just some bored drifter. Something about his eyes. Flat, like he was watching the end of a movie he'd already seen. And the way he said electrical issues like he already knew. I brushed it off. Couldn't afford to get paranoid. Not now. An hour past Smithers, things started to go wrong. First, the dash lights dimmed. Then the GPS blinked twice and died. I hit it with the heel of my palm, but it stayed dark. That's when the headlights cut out completely. Total blackness. I slammed the brakes as a shadow moved onto the road. A moose, tall and still like a statue. I swerved just in time, tires screaming against black ice. Power surged back a second later like nothing had happened. The CB crackled, just static, at first. Then a voice, garbled and slow. Kovac, run. My hands froze on the wheel. The voice knew my name. You think you know fear? Try hearing your name come out of a machine that's not supposed to be working. I scanned the darkness outside the windshield, hoping for lights. Any lights. None came. I made it to the Petropass just outside Terrace, running on fumes and adrenaline. The lot was mostly empty except for the same damn white F-150, parked crooked by the air pumps. I didn't see the driver, but the mud-caked footprints leading toward my trailer, yeah, those were fresh. I went inside, called RCMP from the payphone. No cell signal out there, and my phone was already acting like it had water damage. Officers rolled in 20 minutes later. Young woman and older guy, eyes tired like they'd seen too much. I told them everything, about the guy at Burns Lake, the electrical problems, the voice on the CB. They asked a few questions, but something felt off. When I mentioned the radio message, the younger one stiffened. The older cop elbowed her like he wanted her to shut up. "You're the third driver this month with that story," she said, then went quiet. Her partner gave me a number to call if anything else happened, and they left. I slept at the Northern Lights Inn. Paid cash, no ID required. That's not comforting if you're wondering. My room stank of bleach and old cigarettes, and I tried not to think about the handprints I saw smudged across the truck door before I checked in. That night, at 3:17 a.m. exactly, the TV in my room turned itself on. Just static. I sat up, heart pounding, and looked out the window. Snow was falling, and there, clear as day, were 2 sets of footprints in the snow, circling my truck. But there were no footprints leading to or from them. I didn't sleep another second that night. By sunrise, I was out the door and back on the highway. The truck started without issue, the dash was fine. GPS came back online, everything normal. Too normal. Prince Rupert was 6 hours away, but I drove like hell was behind me, and maybe it was. I didn't stop once. Not for coffee, not to piss. I white-knuckled that wheel until I rolled into the loading dock behind the warehouse just after noon. The mechanic there was an old guy named Rudy. Smelled like motor oil and Red Man. Chew. He gave the rig a look over while I sat in the break room shaking like a leaf. He came back 10 minutes later, scratching his beard. "Can't find a damn thing wrong electrically," he said. Then he paused. "But you'll want to see this." He handed me a greasy shop rag and led me around to the trailer axle. Clinging to the frame with magnets was a GPS tracker. Not the kind my company uses. A black market kind. You only get these when someone wants to know exactly where you are at all times. And the fuel cap? It had bite marks in it, no joke, not scratches, not dents, bite marks. Deep, human-shaped. Rudy tried to laugh it off, but I could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe it either. I left Rupert with a different load, but the same gut-deep unease. I kept thinking about that voice on the CB, the way it said my name like it was mourning me. I thought I'd forget about it after a few days back in the city, but 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a text from a guy I used to run routes with. Just a link, no message. Missing trucker found near Burns Lake rest stop. Vehicle's electrical system mysteriously disabled. My stomach dropped. The photo showed a rig almost identical to mine, cab door wide open. Next to it, that same white F-150, abandoned. Smeared with something dark. The article called it mud. It wasn't mud. They never found the driver. Not a trace. Police are looking into foul play. But we all know what that means out here. We know what this stretch of road does. What it takes. They call it the Highway of Tears for a reason. Because things disappear out here. People, rigs, whole pieces of your life. And if you're lucky, just your sleep. Me? I changed my routes. I run east now. Alberta. Saskatchewan. I still see trackers. Still get weird stares at truck stops. But I haven't been west of Prince George since. Some nights, though, when the CB flickers and the mirrors catch something that shouldn't be there, I wonder how long I've really got. Maybe it's not about where you drive. Maybe it's about what's already following you. And I still ask myself, what are you running? From Danny? And what's catching up?